Welcome to our Future Humans and to a late IHP show with your 5D Mystic Maria Magic Mary stories. Let's continue our chit chat, as today we looked at in a short how science and spirituality keep enlightened and intelligent minds and hearts humbled and enriched. Like right here. Humbled because, God's timber. It is equanimous, discerning, and loving as a downloader channeler. And we can use expert guru, expert yogi, prophet, what else? Prophecies. I'm sure that the ancient Greeks and Romans had all those other words. Okay, so intuitiveness and neuroscience and scientists, they all look into it. So we're all a big team. Well, not all of us. Gargamel in the corner with those who want to keep everything divisive. Well, here's number 2 episode of the day. Being yourself provides the intelligence and leadership skills that make a difference. And a lot of different perspectives came into that one. And particularly, I believe I was telling you how there's many ways that as a teenager I dealt with adolescence. And yes, was I one too? Yes, but the difference is I chose to maintain that which is my honor. Maria's, not yours. And obviously that doesn't mean that someone on the external validates that I am honorable, that I have integrity, that I have morality. In fact, as a polyamory woman, there's plenty of people who would beg to differ. And as a mystic, also many of people, we all know this. So, what intelligent minds know is that the truth comes with equanimous, discerning voices. So not only does God come to all of us in different ways, he always only comes through with your prefrontal cortex, that is, because nobody stops any of that which is the big cosmos from being connected to us. Please remember, woo-woo pseudoscience, if you are secular in sciences, I know that. In fact, what I love about science is they're on the same page as us. Oh, it's beautiful because that's how an integrated brain works, you see? So, good. That's who is going to be back here. Inspiring human potential cannot be done with those who are lacking to communicate effectively with their feels and their thoughts, though their own voices. Now, the difference with the 5D body type is what I call my body type. Is that my 3-year-old, she didn't get broken, nor did my 1-year-old. So all my child parts, they are charged, like we all have the trauma charges. So we're all traumatized, at least with the trauma charges. But it's different than when there's, as my teacher Sue Martin explained, fragmentation, where that's where the good therapists help with EMDR, child parts work somatics. Okay, so that's why we have the adult pacifier. The what was it called? So the people who their willpower will likely not help them to get off of the drinking, that's the pacifier bit. The drugs, obviously, that's where I don't know how many different ways that can be consumed, because I don't do drugs. I do smoke cigars and I do drink wine, but I don't actually have the bad habits that these lovely scientists were talking about. And FYI, I do believe with neuroplasticity use the bright sides, but that's where I learned about the left mode from this other guy. Yeah, the left mode is not the smarter of the two. Actually, the left mode tends to want to, he explains it a lot better. I need to find the video so I can tell you about it. But I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because by the time you're an adolescent, your 11-year-old is going to pick your next allo-parenting crew. And it's going to do a pruning process. And I'm attachment trauma educated, if you didn't know, because you're new. And so as I'm being explained this, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. So our biochemistry changes. We have the adolescent essence, essential spark, social engagement, and then there's the novelty and the creative expression. So we all have like a reward system and whatever. Like I know I had that 11, 14-year-old, but the difference is I didn't become addicted. Although I did become a smoker, but I wasn't addicted. I liked my cigarettes. It was a bad habit. And with my own willpower, yes, I made a bet because a guy was bugging me about it that I was dating. He didn't like the cigarette smoke. And I'm like, I can quit if I want. So he began teasing me. I said, I'll bet you I'll quit for 30 days. And I did. Did I suffer it? No. But there was one day that I wanted a cigarette, and one of my friends was like, oh, you can smoke. He won't know. I was like, I'll know that I lost the bet. But it wasn't hard for me when it came time to quit, and that's where God helped me, because my health is the fact that I own Maria's intelligence. That's all of that memory stuff inside of me. So the child parts, the 1-year-old attached, panicky, I can take care of her. 3 to 7, shame, submissive. I don't do shame, even though I can feel ashamed for when something doesn't go well, like a job, but that I already knew. But I'm okay. I'm imperfect and flawed, so I'm not like ashamed. I don't do things that I don't find with integrity. Only when I was a teenager did I do stupid things, and I just said this: it's okay, you made mistakes. The grown-up taught you. Now that you know better. And so I don't hang out with mediocre people, meaning I don't actually find that they are going to be flocking to my cauldron, and I will not be seeking that I do anything about. Here's the thing about ventral energy. It really dissuades. It actually is something that those who don't want it, because their body is not yet on board with the ventral vagal state. So the owner of the body can take care of that, but that's not a monster that they need to keep. They need to stop blaming the monster called Lucifer, because it's not a it's an actual human being. So when you distance yourself and you dehumanize and you create a story out of that, which is something happening inside of you, that's the part of where I know why we have a Zen master who doesn't know how to do laundry, meaning cry, because he doesn't actively become aware. Your window tolerance to emotions, Zen master, could be strengthened. You could create strength, courage, and what is also called curiosity if you sat with the tears in what is called open-ended inquiry. It is very easy to do, because you don't say you're right, left, and you don't say you're right. You don't say, hey, you're right, 3-year-old. You say, wow, life happens. There are likes and dislikes, and God is perfect. So he doesn't test his children unless you create a monster. But that's where some people had monsters as they grew up. I didn't. I'm Maria, and you can't spank me. No, it's my body, and you can't spank me. And after my mom spanked me, I went to make my suitcase. That's called the differentiated self, which is why I own my sense of self. So when you observe, witness, narrate your sense of self. Now that's why we have a fun time. At IHP, we only have the ones who are children who want to play. If you divide the world into what you like and dislike, you become incapable of perceiving the truth. So when you meet the ones who think that they know what God says all the time, but they don't have discerning, equanimous, and loving tones, and they say we're supposed to be light and lightning, they're called fantasy stage, pseudo-alive people. They're actually looking for their next dopamine hit. They are not harnessing their nervous system whatsoever, because they have yet to learn how to. In fact, you can't talk sense to them, so much so that you'll have them tell you why mindset is everything, and that as you age, you can completely let your body not sleep whatsoever. That you can drink 7-8 beers a day and basically live a great intense life. And so again, this is not something about having to go tell people what to do with their life, because it's none of our business. Those of us who have healthy habits, we easily, so when smoking came to time, it was like I never smoked. Now, do I miss tobacco? Yes, that's why I do the cigars. But am I okay with people bugging me and reminding me about how it works? Yes, I am. And that's the part, though, being able to be honest with oneself. I must say, with the cigarettes, for example, I tried to get it down to the number. I wasn't able. So that was a bad habit. I'm going to do it that way, because really, do we have to use good or bad? How old are you? I mean, you teach children good and bad. By the time you get to be a grown-up, if you still need somebody to talk to that way, I'm going to say you want to... Why work on the unfinished business we have with our abusive family? Thank you, Patrick Tian. You want to go heal. If it's the 0-8-year-old, it is, because then once you get to the freeze response, it's all ages. Flight is 11-12. You want to flee away. Fight is 14-15-16. And those are the ones who are leading their packs. Peter Pan, Lost Boys, the 4D Collective, and 3D, all over the place. As Terry points out, people who need him, it's because their adaptive child part comes up. So they want to fix each other because they think they're broken, or save each other. He doesn't add all this. He just says fight, flight, fix. And so the adaptive child part isn't in a relationship with me because they want to be with me. In fact, like my facade friend, it's simply a comfortable, secure blanket. That's all I am, because it's what happens when you have a habit. So, we are creatures of habit. We create a herd, and then we create another herd. That's why my oversoul expands. I don't cut people out of my herd. If they don't want me to be friends with them, that's okay. So the truth, it has one timbre, which is why it's really fun to hear it. And that's what the smart human beings out there, science and spirituality. Those people, the skeptics, we're all skeptics with discernment, but we all know. So why would you want to heal the unfinished business? Because we want our body back, we want our peace back, we want our energy back. Thank you, Patrick Tian. The energy of a 3-year-old is what I have, and that's where the adolescent essence also didn't get lost. So essential spark, social engagement, novelty, creative expression. But I don't need to gamble. I don't need to smoke. I don't need to drink. I've never done the drugs. I don't need to fuck. I don't need any of these external things to have what is a high on life, because I know how to wield my nervous system. I'm explaining it so that you can understand. Mystic, spiritual, and woo-woo pseudoscience lady can tell every person, and I do share with them information. Every person, I can say, I know exactly what it takes for you to live the best life ever. Be yourself. And that is where being yourself, that provides intelligence, because you own the sense of self. You got 2 sides of the brain. You don't let the left control you. You don't let the right control you. You control you. You own you. You're a master of you. So the truth, why does it come forth in equanimous, discerning voices? Because that's what God is. He's equanimous. He's common-centered. He's discerning. He's wise, good judgment. He's loving. He's not the oxytocin genormum, but yet again, he is. And when they want to say we embody God and all these spiritual talk, sure, we're a piece of energy. And the ones who want to get all offended about us using words, I don't have anything to say to those who are adaptive child part people. They were treated in a certain way. I feel bad for them. But I can't feel bad for them because pitying somebody is not actually fair. That's called, I would lack respect. And I instead respect that you have the free will to choose if you want to be a smart person, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable, or a person who thinks you're smart because you want to do it your way versus the way that is good for you. And so I'm a big believer in moderation and explanation, because I know that those who do have the smarts will hear the truth, because the truth is not cocky. It is simply put, here are the data points we know. Here's what we don't know. Here's how many times, by the way, this works. The scientist, neuroscience, neurobiology works like the back of my hand. I have seen more people contest every single bit of all the modern day therapists, and all of them, all the ones, you just put them all in. And then I've seen the other ones that want to tell you. So they're both on that other side. Remember I told you today about that rabbi, he talks about the 2 sides and then the middle. I'm in the middle, because I'm like, you both are on 2 extremes. We don't need the extremes, because you're giving scarlet letters to each other. Then you're continuing to say that you own the word God or not, and guess what? God's children, they all have different voices, but there's only one truth. And like the physicist Thomas Campbell points out, the truth is not fragile, it will always float to the top. Scientist Sean Carroll, the universe clicks along in perfect accord with the laws of physics forever. There is cosmic karmic balancing. I've seen it happen. So when you know intelligent minds and hearts do understand how the truth comes with spirituality or spiritual and science, is because God's truth is one of love and not war. And God's truth is that his children will always hear him, remind them, okay, humility. So to me, it's don't judge your brothers and sisters of human suffering, a waste of your fucking time. And don't be upset at them if they stay unhealed, because they got plenty of people to go follow. The 43 ain't going anywhere, because they actively have made it their mission to call all the modern day therapists bad, and that they're trying to wield their words and change their minds and change beliefs. And they manipulate their words so well that they use lack of imagination for evil. There's no lack of imagination. There's bountiful of it. The people who agree with it, it's because they're bothered by going inside. That's why they're all cowards and backstabbers, but not to me. No, to their own selves, which is also why they're backstabbing humanity. And that's why they're not actually the emotionally or mentally elite. And so here's where today, when I said something along the lines of we don't need, it's not because we don't need, I'm just one person. But my point is, any of those who understand how herds work, how does a herd work? A herd, like the animal kingdom, because that's what we are. And we don't need to participate with our thoughts, by the way, because my thinking doesn't need to work. That's why the pure vessels, they don't actually have concerns in ways. Our body isn't reactive, because we're meditative within us. This is called the ventral vagal state. Every person can have it. That's where for some, it's first therapy, and then it's recognizing the signs when the body's still fighting off that which is something unfamiliar because it didn't get it, because it's all implicit memory the first 3 years of their life. So it's not a small feat for somebody to go and get themselves healed. It's actually a very, very brave thing for them to do. And then if they fall on their maladaptive patterns, that's where they can be understood, like Dr. Daniel Fox presents. But you fall back to get back up on the ladder and climb out of hell. Not that you fall back and you want me to give you a cushion so you can sit in there, because I ain't going to sit with you. I can throw you the cushion if you want it. I'm not going to be sitting around though, because I'm going to leave. You're in it, I get out of it. I'm not in it at all. I mean, I've never been in it, and it's a figure of speech. Again, this is the part of where if you take words seriously, please don't, because there's equanimity. Learn how to work with the charges. We're going to have practices for that one. As for example, there are words that I'm sure I still have emotions around in a certain way of a charge. You always have emotions, but it's when they're uncharged that you are now discerning, equanimous, and loving. Yes, but we're not it. It is perfection. That's why I was mentioning the physicists as they talk about this perfect cosmos. And so the difference is spiritual ones and enlightened ones welcome science, because we welcome all information. What they don't tend to realize, and not all of them, because the ones who are like us, curious, open, they're 3-year-olds, science, spirituality, we come together and have a good time. Every time you check the time, remember life is ticking away. Tick tock, hook. Anybody? That's why I use all the cartoons, because these human beings, they're adult pacifiers. I mean, they already had a Las Vegas. Now we get to talk about their adult pacifiers and loops, and I'm sure they were like, oh my god. I remember when they did the whole smoking, they made it into like stigma, like, you smoke. I don't think that's necessary. Again, I think that education and moderation, and then we have laws. Time to focus on what is truly worthwhile. But I know some people, once they learn something, then they become, and I probably have done it myself as a teenager, as a young adult. Although I try to keep an eye out for that, because I don't think that it's actually productive. So for example, when I quit smoking, I didn't say that people that are smoking, get away from me, you're bothering me. And I haven't grown a dislike for the smoke. I still like it. I still like tobacco. There's only some cigarettes, and it's because of what they put in it. I think there's a very specific brand. But I remember all those other people who quit smoking. Stop smoking. Now you should stop smoking. Now you should, and they became pains in the asses. So those are called hypocrites. You smoked until now. Now you're going to bust my balls about it. Please give it a rest. So any type of extreme is a charge, and that's why it's basically an immature thing. But I get it. I was a teenager once too, and I remember when I was immature with things, and then as I got to become an adolescent, that was even more adult. So we're all culpable of it, and probably I still sound like somebody who's trying to tell people what to do as a grown-up, which is why we like to talk it out, so that we can ensure nobody's trying to tell anybody what to do. Equanimous, discerning tones, that's the tones of truths, because those are where I have a differentiated self, you have a differentiated self. They're called functional child adults here at IHP. Terry Real has a lot of great fun time with people, helping them to get from adaptive child part to functional adults within their couples. Others instead are ready for IHP. So you're doing personal growth, spiritual growth, whether you're a 5D mystic, spiritual, or mindful one. The problem is not with life. The problem is you have not taken charge of your mind. Thank you, Sadhguru. You have taken charge of your mind. And in fact, I love all of these lovely people. Here's another Patrick Tiahan. We do not diminish our masculinity by working on our childhood trauma. We reclaim it. I agree with him. Then there's another one. This is Janina Fisher. There's a huge difference between emotional neglect and traumatic neglect. Emotional neglect is usually the result of parents who are unavailable, critical, who believe the child should raise themselves, who are not really attached, very painful. But traumatic neglect involves fear and threat, and I've seen both. And actually, when it comes to emotional neglect, they explain that there's parts of the brain that don't get to develop. But see, here's what the studies have also found, that childhood developmental trauma works really great with healing without necessarily the medications. Again, don't write down notes because I fuck it up and forget the data. But from what I remember, that's what's shown, is that it helps the mindfulness, the meditation, but with the therapy, obviously, with the person who walks you through it, with you taking ownership. It's very sacred. In fact, there's a lady who's like, EMDR, child parts work, somatics. And then she goes, I don't do the rest, Maria. I'm alive now. And that was the moment. She could have done more, but she doesn't want to. So she gets to hang out with all the other teenagers and have a good time. I believe that we want more intelligent minds to use equanimous, discerning, loving tones, just because, that way they can actually educate versus lecture. Lecturing is pretty boring. And I do know that I sound like a lecturer sometimes, but I'm not trying to. A situation becomes stressful only when you compulsively react to it. Sadhguru doesn't know it, but he's talking about how to become a restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person. So I bring you the human elements to the spiritual and spirituality elements, and then say, hey, look, sciences and spirituality, we're a team. And that's why, as Thomas Campbell points out, the truth is not fragile. It will always float to the top. Sometimes it takes time to get past beliefs, and it takes a huge paradigm shift to get there. But eventually it will, and it does once the scientists say, yes, this is correct. So one would say, why would science have to say yes? Because anybody who's grounded in reality, which means, any of your cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable, I love you, God, will know that scientists keep us grounded in reality. Said Guru, do not seek mystical experiences, seek transformation. Okay, so when people have, let me find this, give me one moment, the pseudo-life business, the dopamine business, and so they don't control or own any of their mind, their nervous system yet. Not only are they doing bad resilience, which is quite unfortunate, they are also incapable of being stronger than their dysfunctional patterns until they get to know every single bit of how their embodied brain works. And so that's why it's a very important journey. So when I see titles, like I told you all, while it's a great video, obviously, willpower likely won't save you from your bad habits. Science explains why. The habit loop explained, and then they use this adult pacifier thing. They show how cue, routine, reward, okay? And then they even talk about the dopamine, and gambling was in another video. So intelligent minds would be able to discern as they're hearing someone, and then also ignore what they like and don't like so that they can continue taking in what is good information. Then when we want to talk about it, we can talk about it like grown-ups. And if you're bothered, that would take it would take you no time, like with the nutritionist diary, to notice, okay, I'm bothered, which is actually intriguing, because then it means that I'm fussing about something like a little 3-year-old, which also indicates that I don't want to break this habit, which means that I am actually, addictions have consequences but feel good. Stronger than your dysfunctional patterns. If you are, great. If you're not, it's not about the substance. Is that, okay, what are you using it for? That's why Gabor Mate says, not why the addiction, why the pain. So it's all self-reflection, self-awareness, growth, accountability. But some people, again, that left mode can make up all the excuses it wants. And somebody who chooses to ignore, I'm actually resisting health. And that's why when they're using words like the adult pacifier, I'm going to keep using it because it gives a good image so that we can understand people who are out there doing what they're doing still. I have plenty of my friends on Pinocchio's Island. They're unhealthy for a reason, but it's not our job to tell them that they have to go to therapy, because that's not how it works. It's also not necessary to go to any extremes, in my personal subjective opinion, because I drink a little wine, I smoke a little cigar. Like, there are people who are moderate with all this. And when I see those who are going to two ends of a spectrum, it's like with the meat thing. I like meat. I'll eat meat. No, I don't want to kill an animal, but I don't think I have to bring it to that extreme. Plus, adaptive chopper people are the extremists. So we got, again, an emotionally immature people, self-righteous, with a trauma charge and a baton. Also, this is where I would put into the mix decentralizing of the self, and not only the religious experiences, but just like somebody learning something great. Now you're getting all healthy and whatnot. Now you want people to follow you. Like, this is the part of where the free will comes into the mix. But also, we all have a 3-year-old. So like when teenagers told me, you don't listen to what we do, and I was like, you know what, you're so right. I don't, because I don't listen to kids. And I still don't. In fact, I learn from and listen to all the grown-ups who teach me stuff. And when I hear the ones who are not telling me the truth, I know how to just leave it alone, because I don't have to do anything since I'm not interacting with them. And really, they're always going to have golden nuggets, because I'm learning something and I'm sharing a moment. So the part about you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. Yes. So the left brain, if it wants to continue creating some story for a person, it will. And let's say they come across the video like I did, the one about it's not likely that your willpower, they will argue with it. The difference is I presented to you 2 equations, that there are plenty of people who, yes, they have not broken those habits at all. And because the left mode and the shame binding continues, they have shame bound themselves into what is pathologies at this point. And they actually behave like the donkeys from Pinocchio's Island. Believe me, it's not funny to see grown-ups as they become grown-ups and then continue to notice how they become completely disconnected. And you get to observe it. So I'm just saying, like, a fool with the tool is still a fool. Addiction is a disease of more. Most addictive behaviors are maladaptive responses to unresolved trauma. This is why I don't appreciate when people want to use a demon called Lucifer or a monster, or just start to use words that are toxic too. That there's no need for us to use these. The people who are using these words, they're weaponizing these words. And that's how I feel, because they're using it to fight each other. Left brain, fighting each other. And they have a charge. So when you have the equanimous discerning voice, people will know it because it has no agenda except for here's what I know, here's what I don't know, here's what it is, and hey, you have your, I'm not going to impose anything. And when someone wants to, what are you doing, what are you saying, you can, I didn't mean to tell you. So when someone thinks, you're manipulating, no, I'm not manipulating. So you see how many times a teenager version of a person who's like this can come in creating a debate. However, it doesn't matter what they do as they're coming in like this, because you're going to be like, hey, this is a conversation. And if they don't like it, you're not going to be hanging out with each other anymore. So the 5D collective, we don't need protection. Mystic, spiritual, mindful, enlightened ones, spiritual masters, prophets, you use all the words, bring it in. I have seen many interesting things of our lovely planet. I won't share it here. We're just, once we have our tears, but it's not because I don't want to, it's just unnecessary. And also there's just a need for concentration when you get in a meditative state, and this is not what I'm doing right now. Right now we're chit-chatting. So the shared fantasy stage, highs and rewards. Highs are rewarding, highs and lows, The roller coaster, they're addicted, the ups and downs, so the dopamine. So there's an explanation to this entire biochemistry. If a person is not capable of finding healthy ways to get their dopamine hit and whatnot, they are actually in a bad habit with bad habits that are unhealthy. And so this is why I'm, again, talking about it. But it's not just that. It's not only likes and dislikes based on daily habits, daily routines, daily lifestyle. The entire world, when I look outside, that which is the smart human beings who are speaking the discerning, equanimous truths are all out there. The ones who are choosing to use bigger words, they are not helping. While they will be using eloquent verbiage, they're not helping because those bigger words are used by people to stay divisive. Because you're still acting like you know what the best way is for another. And believe me, I know, again, because I don't take myself out the picture. I'm going to use my facade friend in a minute. There are many voices for God's children to hear, but there's only one truth, and science and spirituality prove the same thing about humans and our humanity, which is why being yourself, the best advice I could ever give you, but it's with your sense of self as a grown-up, with your prefrontal. And that's why you're going to be in an intelligent mind. You're not influenced by your implicit memory, explicit, or your downloads, imagination, or even if they're not downloads, because some people don't have the intuitive stuff, meaning they don't believe they have it. But we can say it's consciousness, like we can say the universe clicks along in perfect according with the laws of physics forever. And thank you, Sean Carroll. I need to read some of his stuff. He's really awesome. And then he talked to me on this video I watched about 1 minute. This Laplace's demon, a thought experiment introduced by Pierre Simon Laplace that illustrates scientific determinism, a hypothetical being that knows the precise position and momentum of every particle in the universe, and using this knowledge could calculate the entire past and future of the universe. I'm an Akashic record reader, as you all know. I've seen my past lives, a number of them. I'm sure if I wanted to, I could even see more. I've seen one of my future lives, because it's when I get off of planet Earth. Then I saw a continuation of that, which was really fucking awesome when I gave another Akashic record reading. So I know from spiritual perspective that science doing great. They want to call it a virtual reality. They can call it whatever they want. I mean, really, you don't disprove God, but you don't disprove science. And science, in the meantime, gives tangible evidence of what works and doesn't work, which is why the left with the right are what you use. the right by itself is not useful, or a dominant right is how I should probably pose it, because you're always going to use both. But when you're not an integrated brain, you're not using them the same, because they shut each other off. It's once you're integrated, as Dr. Daniel Siegel showed me, the left and right are downregulated, or they're downregulated. No, the insula is downregulated, or something like that, and the left and right are working together. I forgot his verbiage right now. And then you become a conduit, and that's because you have access to your nervous system. It's amazing. So it's not wine. You are in ventral energy. You're consistently on, because that's what a body that's safe to be itself is. Your default mode network is downregulated. That's what it was. The insula is activated. Yes, because the insula connects the head and the body. I'm not afraid of my emotions. And so the way he explained it helps me to explain it to you. But remember, I fuck it up and forget it, meaning the words, I can confuse it. And when you explain it to somebody who doesn't own the sense of self, there's no energy vampires, and they look at you weird, that's the moment of, okay, you said you're going to therapy. Great. Once you're done with therapy, then come back around, because I know why people don't own their sense of self. Like with Patrick Tan, he talks about why your CPTSD isn't getting better. There's I need to find my notes again, but there's a disturbance of the self, something about disturbance of the self organization. And that means you don't own. So the sense of self, emotions, and affect are problematic for you to manage, and relationships. So there's every bit of beautiful and helpful information online. And then there are people who just use their mouths and don't actually go to heal, by the way, which are the ones who, with pitchforks. And so, long story short, though, as I'm listening to Sean Carroll, the universe clicks along in perfect accord with the laws of physics forever. I'm thinking the only difference is you're using physics instead of God. And that's the part of why, if you ask an intelligent mind, which one's true, did the chicken or the egg come first? Really stop comparing them. They're different. But at the end of the day, I'm okay with going with science, because I know who God is. You can't make me a non-believer. You can't break faith. Also, by the way, being grounded in reality is way more important than me having to prove something. But again, I don't need to prove, because I'm not an immature, adaptive child who's an insecure human being who's actually non-bilaterally integrated. Don't own my sense of self. I own all of this. And then I own all of this. So you don't lie to yourself. There's weaknesses and strengths. We all have them. And that's why equanimity and discernment and the loving timber of truth won't hurt people's feelings. It's truth that has a balance. It's not about what's fair or not fair. Now, if you don't like what I said, you're going to turn it a couple of ways. I stand up for the weak people, Maria. How dare you? I'll play a know-it-all. All these things. I'm used to these things. They're not interesting. They're basically, everybody has a subjective opinion. So we can all work it out. The world always does at some point. We're doing Dharma, by the way. The other thing is love always wins, as even Thomas Campbell points out. So positive and healthy, creating, sharing, while grabbing selfish is high entropy, and that's a negative. But also, when Robert Sapolsky with his book Determined, he's not far off. Now I understand better why he used the word. Thanks, Sean. And what I'm going to say is that intelligence is what life is made of and what you're made of. But if you use only left brain, you're not going to be intelligent. You're going to be a buffoon to an intelligent mind and an open heart, which is why there's one thing and one thing alone for at least one who is in communion with God that I got to keep learning is stay on the ground and remember you're all your brothers and sisters. Where's my lovely little angels? I have an angel somewhere that I use. So that's what happens when you're in communion with God and you're familiar with Resh, and then your heart's open and you're a 3-year-old. And here's that angel. You know, all of our brothers and sisters are loved. We don't give scarlet letters to anyone. That's not nice. Everybody makes mistakes. They're not meant to stay with an emblem of shame for the rest of their lives, which is why revenge is not sweet. In one of the episodes I said it's sweet. What I was trying to get to, it's sweet that you will find out it's not sweet. Except the people who won't ever move into their healthy version won't know it. Propelled by rage, we substitute one injustice for another. Propelled by compassion, we do what is needed. Thank you, Sadhguru. Grown-ups do what is needed. The function of child adults. That's what a grown-up is. So they know how to forgive like Jesus taught us. They know how to laugh like Buddha taught us. And like the Dalai Lama says to Guy, how dare you smile in the face of all this suffering? He says some of us have a responsibility to bring laughter to the world. And I've said, responsibility? We can't. I can't lift you out of shithole, because if you don't want to learn how to use your nervous system, I can't make you be I'm presence, and you can't actually perceive the cloak of Christ, the protective energy, grace, because you haven't learned how to navigate what is your mammalian heritage, your human stuff. So your mammalian heritage was meant to have as your 1-year-old who's securely attached. All of this is why we talk about compassion. And the people who don't want it, they're the same ones who reject it like the back of their hand without even bothering to hear what Stephen Porges says about how mobilization defenses make up an excuse in their brain immediately for why, hey, I'm doing great, Maria. Wow, you just told me how amazing I'm doing. This is a guy who's a heart attack waiting to happen, as my Pinocchio friends, which makes me very sad. But we have free will, and that's where laws also come into the place. So your life is your making. God does not interfere. Thank you, said Guru. Body and mind are profoundly connected. When the body becomes still, the mind naturally follows. And only those who have lost the need for security are truly secure, said Guru. So securely attached people, we know this stuff. But there's a bunch of people that aren't in their highest level of spirituality yet, being their true self, authentically, with love, with imperfections, with flaws, being able to go and have good conversations, one with all of the politics, really all of it. We're really not there, but we are at a good spot to where the different voices can say, okay, come on now. This is one globe. We can work it out as we always have done. No, nothing has changed. It's gotten better. That's because of intelligence. Thank you, science. That's why science always humbles one of faith, because faith, we already know. I know who wins. I don't have a question about it. I'm not copying you. I already did the stupid stuff. You're out, you're out, you're out, you're out. Everybody's out. You're in, you're in, you're in. Maybe means you're out. That's it. I know exactly who my herd is. Thanks, God. Thanks, Jesus. Thanks, Holy Spirit. And then I learned, hey, God, so listen. Cowards and cloak people, don't know what to do with them. And then I noticed when my prayers moved from please help me to be strong to my prayers being a conversation to then me moving into mystic land and hey God, so guess I'm not accepted and welcomed by all of those who I was raised by. I do love you still. I know they don't believe me and they're still keeping the children away. The people that are grown-ups are with these gender stereotypes. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's not the sex revolution. They really have fallen, I think, a lot from, no, it's all basically the dogma stuff that people want to use. And then they're just going to say that those of us who are apparently different are wielding our mouths. You know what I love about the manipulators is they actually do this thing called, we all manipulate. Difference is they're a blank slate with an empty void. No, they have an armor on and you can tell, and then they just go against that which is the health of people, and the only ones who follow them are the same ones that have the adult pacifier and that wants that which was ancient news. So it's not about moderation. It can always happen. It's not about getting rid of our past. It's about learning how to move into the present and the future. But again, remember, we're all one of a kind. They don't like to hear that. Okay, so this doesn't mean we're all the same, because different doesn't mean the same. It just means we bring different things to the table. But luckily, the intelligent minds know this already, which is why I love when I meet them. And when we have good conversations, and we're going to meet them all here, we're going to be like comedians, but we won't. But we're going to be like comedians because we have a giggly, fun time. And the 4D, 3D, I was told they weren't going to budge. And I'm pretty sure they will not be budging because I can tell. I can tell the different voices. We're going to make fun of them. So you come here, we make fun of Pinocchio on his island and Peter Pan's. Then we know there's a good kind. So please remember, it's not a black and white thing. There's not good, there's not bad. It's not twos, it's a rainbow of colors, okay? So we do know that some people are not ready to forgive. And that's why I always say, IHP, it's not for everyone. It's only for those who want to be their self, deal with unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds from within while going with the flow. That means that they love all people. Let's make it a world the better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people and children dying, and they're already lost. They're 3-year-old souls, and we still have so many that have lost it completely. So while some are hypocrites because they say they want to bring peace to the world and help all people to get out of trauma, and then I'm a healer, have to trauma dump, and they cut the cords. We're gonna cut the cords. We have to clear out our aura. Let's make sure to clear out our aura because there's bad energy around. Okay. There's, yes, people who need help. How about going all to a group therapy with Pat Ogden and doing so many. We'll be back with more. Again, there's a lot of beauty to be seen, and I'm happy because science, they figured it out. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, we're not needed. But they're all healed. I said, yay, and now I can just have fun and share the knowledge and share it, whether it's not perfect, and then have fun with the 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving people are going to be their self, like not like me, but like you. Join us and spread the word. We're here, Christ consciousness, collective, yay, restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating people. Just in case you need those words, sovereign people. Means self-sovereign. You don't need territorial. We're like, yes, we can handle our functional child-adult tangos and have a good time. Moderation. And we will hopefully allow everyone to know, okay, the adults with the adult pacifier, we don't want to let them in on the fun fact of the adult pacifier thing because that's not nice. But we can spread the word amongst us. No, we don't. This is the part of where I use words and play with words to make points and then to reframe so that we can stop using the whole monster. There's no demon. There's no demon to be blaming for any of that, which are the addictions. I'm just trying to help you. It's better to talk about children because it's non-metabolized trauma charges, and that's actually more accurate. And some people would say, you're disrespecting. They're not drama kings or drama queens. They don't know. No, they do know that they're hooked to drama. And they tell people like me that I'm fake because I'm smiling all the time. So how about that? When you're a healthy self-worth person and people continue to think you're faking it, you can't always be happy. So should I tell you that you want me to be miserable? No, I'm not going to because I don't want to waste any more time. Yes, I fake it. And then a few times I explain it, and that's when it goes well. So you just explain to people, there are many voices for God's children to hear, but there's only one truth. That is love, and that is healthy fear. The unhealthy fear needs a pacifier because, well, again, there's a reason for it. But intelligent minds and hearts know the truth, and that's science and spirituality have come together. Be your authentic self. Allow yourself to heal and become that which you've always meant to be this. You know what the saddest thing is seeing a person that you will have known and then them becoming armored in, and their eyes are still human. So you know it's still the same human being, and then you see that which is their child, because they're people who I've known my entire lifetime, and that won't ever go away. So don't dehumanize people because that's not nice. While I can explain things, and then moderation is intelligence in general. Anybody who doesn't have that figured out is not really gonna want to be back here because seriously, like charges. I know I had them too. I still probably do, but I work really hard to have self-reflection awareness. Otherwise, I'd be not a very good mentor, don't you think? Accountability, regulation. I got intrigued with the nutritionist diary on purpose. No, because my brain was like, I want to dance. I was like, wow, that's you're making a really big deal out of this. Okay, I think I'm going to take this and make it into a challenge because that's not going to happen. I can follow a diet. Like, it's good for me. Why would I not do good for me? So you see that's how it works. You're like, of course I love you. You love me. I love you back. I want to grow old and not be, falling down places. And thank you so much, body. You did such a great job. And we are selfish. Remember, we self-love. So we'll be back with more. Have a good one.